Lights, camera, action. Welcome back to this episode of Popcorn Diaries. I'm Joe.
And I'm Adriana.
And today we are going to attack movies and their musical scores. We're going to talk about some of the great songs that we recognize and say, wow, I remember that movie and how good that was. We're also going to talk about how some of those songs have been overused again and again and again. And then finally, Adriana and I are going to pick our three favorite composers and talk about some of the wonderful works they've done in the movies. So let's go ahead and attack some of our favorite themes of all time.
Oh, there are so many. Hollywood has really put out some really great soundtracks. There are songs that just have become so recognizable and iconic with different movies that you can't hear one without having it trigger a movie.
Absolutely.
And one of those, of course, comes from The Breakfast Club.
Yep.
It's one of the most recognized songs. As soon as you hear it, you're going to think Breakfast Club, and that's Don't You Forget About Me.
Yeah, it's a great tune.
At the end of this movie, you know, it's an iconic moment. It's something that everyone can relate to, and, you know, it's not going to go away. You're always going to think Breakfast Club.
When you hear that, you instantly are transported to that movie, the scenes, the memories of watching that movie. And that's exactly what those theme songs are supposed to do. They're supposed to almost be immortal, if you will.
Exactly. And it's true. They are very immortalized.
So take something like the theme song to Jaws.
Oh, my God. You cannot hear that theme song without thinking shark.
Yeah. When you hear that, dun, 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 you know instantly that that's Jaws. It was the perfect theme song for that movie. Unfortunately, there was a whole lot of other Jaws movies that used it too, and that's a whole nother Popcorn Diaries we can talk about some other time.
True enough. And of course, there are others.
Oh, yeah.
One of the most iconic theme songs in movie history is the Imperial March.
Oh, one of my favorite.
God, you know Darth Vader is coming, and Darth Vader has become the anti-hero. I mean, really, you have to love to hate him. He is just one of the most iconic characters in Hollywood history.
Yeah, that he is. And when you hear that, you just shivers go down your spine like, oh no, here he comes. Something bad is going to happen. But you want to see it.
But what an intro. I mean,
it's perfect.
You know,
intro.
Think about like being there in the theater for the first time, hearing this Imperial March, and just like this huge, bigger-than-life character coming on screen. It's just, it sends shivers down my spine just thinking about it.
And let's not forget James Bond's theme.
Oh.
That's used in every movie.
Yeah.
As soon as you hear those few opening notes, you know you are in for a James Bond movie.
I love the James Bond series.
Yeah, and let's not forget some maybe lesser-known theme songs that still stick with us. You know, there was the opening to 2001: A Space Odyssey.
Yes.
And that's so every time you hear that song, you just instantly, you know, relate to 2001.
And let's not forget one of the most iconic songs. If you're ever going to strut your stuff down the street, it's Staying Alive by the Bee Gees.
Yep.
Oh, Saturday Night Fever, the first opening of watching Travolta, you know, just strut his stuff down the street and that song playing in the background. Such a great scene, and it's iconic. I mean, other movies that it's been in is like Night at the Roxbury, Grumpier Old Men, and then Madagascar parodied it. It was awesome. Yeah,
it has been used maybe more than once or twice.
Yes.
So it does hit both our lists as being, you know, one of the most iconic, but probably one of the most overused. And it's had a lot of parodies thrown at it. And let's not forget Indiana Jones.
Oh, yes.
John Williams.
Jones.
Another great John Williams piece there. As soon as you hear that roaring adventure type theme, you just like, Indiana Jones.
Yeah, it's just, you know, that theme just gets your blood going. It just makes you want to head out on an adventure of your own. And of course, let's not forget, and let's go back in time to one of the most iconic songs in Hollywood history, Judy Garland's Over the Rainbow. You know, this was 1939, Wizard of Oz, and what a song. Just seeing her sing this in black and white, it's so memorable.
Yeah, it could be argued that may have been the beginning of, you know, actually attaching a very unique musical piece to a movie. And that, because when you think, you know, before that, there was musical scores, obviously, before that. But I think that's the one that really everybody started to remember back in 1939, a long time ago. And it's stuck with us, as has Mary Poppins, Supercalifragilisticexpialidocious.
Definitely. What a song. I mean, where did they come up with it? It's wonderful.
It's bizarre and it's perfect because you can't, once you get it, you can't forget it.
Yeah, exactly.
Yeah, and let's not forget the incredibly successful franchise of Mission Impossible and their theme song, which was actually taken from the TV series.
Yes.
And they just, kind of tweeted up. But yeah, every time you hear the opening notes to Mission Impossible, you know that you're in for a thrill ride.
Definitely. Hollywood loves to reuse music.
Yes, they do.
And there are songs that have been stuck in our minds and even represent a certain era. One of those songs, of course, is Jimi Hendrix Along the Watchtower, which was in any 1960s movie, any Nam movie, you will hear this song in the background at some point. And of course, it was in Forrest Gump, it was in Rush, and one of the best uses was actually in Watchmen. It was so wonderful. But the song really represents an era for most people, and you hear that song and you're thinking 1960s right away.
Yeah, and what's unique about that song, it wasn't written for the movie. I mean, obviously, Jimi Hendrix had recorded that, prior to any of these movies we've mentioned, and it's a great musical piece on its own.
Yeah.
So that's why I think it fits so well with the movies we named. But let's not forget the theme to Chariots of Fire.
Yes.
How many times has that been used?
Too many. You hear it in Happy Gilmore and Old School, Madagascar again. I mean, anytime there's like a running into your arms scene, that is the song you're going to hear.
It's that whole slow motion parody thing. Every time things get slow and they're running and then you start to hear the Chariots of Fire thing, it's like, oh, you just shake your head and say, oh, please, this is the last time I ever want to hear that. The Jefferson Airplane, Somebody to Love, that's been in countless movies also.
Yes, I agree. That was in Fear and Loathing in Las Vegas.
Cable Guy.
Even in The Cable Guy, but it's such a great song. I never get tired of hearing this one.
As was Gimme Shelter by the Stones, another tune that was a big hit for them even before it hit the movie scene. And that one's been used a whole bunch. Casino, The Departed.
Heist movies, mafia films, you think, Give Me Shelter. It's such a great song, and it works so well in these movies that you can't think of them without thinking of the song. And let's not forget about the black sheep of all overused songs. Carl Douglas, Kung Fu Fighting.
Kung Fu Fighting.
Oh, my God. The song is in everything from TV to movies. It's time for it to take a rest. I mean, it was in Beverly Hills Ninja, Bowfinger, Rush Hour 3, and it still pops up every time you have a funny fight sequence.
Yeah, and, it was a B-side to begin with. It was never really a good song. And for some reason, it just got sucked into the whole movie industry. And, again, that thing has been used over and over and over. And that is one of the songs I would never like to hear again.
Yes.
Yeah. Well, as we all know, Hollywood loves to go back, to the well time and time again on what they know is successful. So that's why they use a lot of these songs over and over because people remember them from the last movie. Perhaps it's a sequel. Perhaps they just want to get in that mood. Like we said, slow motion running. And they go ahead and use it and they draw you right in. You go, oh, yeah, I remember that. But probably the granddaddy of them all, in my opinion, would probably be Steppenwolf, Born to Be Wild.
Definitely.
This thing, well, of course, it was used in Easy Rider. That's kind of what put it on the movie map, if you will. And then from there, it was just in everything. I mean, even Dr. Dolittle, too.
I know. It's just one of those songs that, represents carefree, get in trouble kind of character. And it's just been tagged on to any character that has that kind of mentality. And Hollywood will continue to reuse this song for many, many years to come.
Of course, all the great songs and all the great tunes that are out there that are, end up in movies would mean nothing if it wasn't for someone to bring it all together into what they call the musical score. And this is the person who's responsible for bringing all the musical elements together so that it helps the movie flow and tell the story and basically engulfs you with the entire feeling of whatever this movie is about. And there's no doubt top on everybody's list is John Williams.
Oh, yes. John Williams has had such a successful career that there's not many that compare to him.
No.
And he is still going. He is still producing soundtrack after soundtrack, but he's got some legends under his belt.
Yes, he does. And he's been doing it since like the 60s. That's a long time. And this man is still the number one powerhouse.
I mean, you have a list like Jaws, Close Encounters,
Yep.
Star Wars,
Yeah, Raiders,
E.T.,
Jurassic Park.
Jurassic Park, Dracula, The River. I mean, Empire of the Sun had such an amazing soundtrack. You know, JFK, Home Alone, Far and Away. He hits every genre and he doesn't shy away from it. You know, and let's not forget, one of the best soundtracks that he produced, and I still to this day, it's so emotional. And the subject matter, again, is emotional as well. It's the Schindler's List soundtrack.
Oh, yeah. That's just ugh.
It just sends shivers down your
it is.
spine. You feel you're there. And it's the music that transports us there and emphasizes everything that is portrayed on screen. And then he hits us again with Saving Private Ryan,
Yep.
Angela's Ashes, The Patriot.
Oh, Patriot.
He
yeah.
even got into the Harry Potter series.
Yes, he did.
Every time he produces a soundtrack, it's gold.
There's no doubt that he's the undisputed king of movie music. And he can jump to any, like I said, any genre. I mean, when you think blockbuster, it's John Williams.
Yes.
That's number one on everybody's list. But we went ahead and picked three of our favorites, not including John, because that just wouldn't be fair.
Right. He would be the top on both our lists.
And there's many, many other great composers out there that have just done just equally good jobs, in my opinion. One on my list is Elmer Bernstein, The Magnificent Seven, Kill a Mockingbird, The Blues Brothers, Ghostbusters, Animal House, even The Great Escape. These are all just legendary soundtracks and compositions that were put together for these movies. And he is definitely one of my three most favorite composers.
My third favorite composer, you could say, was Elliot Goldenthal.
Oh, great choice.
Such a great composer. And what really brought him to my attention was Alien 3.
Yeah. Mm-hmm.
That soundtrack was just amazing. And then he brought it back again with Demolition Man. And then even the Batman Forever soundtrack was amazing. My favorite soundtrack that he produced by far was for the Heat movie.
Yeah, that was a great one.
Oh my God. Every time I hear that soundtrack, it's just so amazing. You can definitely listen to that soundtrack without the movie, but the movie just and the soundtrack together, they're gold.
Yeah, that they are. Okay, next on my list of composers, got to go with Jerry Goldsmith. His resume is just long and impressive. Planet of the Apes, Alien, L.A. Confidential, Star Trek is probably what he's most known for. Patton, Stagecoach, Chinatown. It goes on and on. This man is right up there, in my opinion, with John Williams.
Yeah, he's definitely such a great composer. And for me, my second choice was Alan Silvestri. Now, this man has such talent when it comes to creating a soundtrack. And my favorite soundtrack of his has to be for a movie that is not one of the top movies in Hollywood, which was The Mexican.
Oh, that's a great movie.
It's a great movie. It's not one of the, top legends in Hollywood history, but the soundtrack to it is just so amazing. And then he's got others under his belt as well. I mean, he was the one who produced the soundtrack for Forrest Gump, Grumpier Old Men, Judgment Night, and Back to the Future 2 and 3.
Yeah.
I mean, his career has just taken off since the 80s, and he's continued to create amazing soundtracks for movies, and I can't wait to see what else he's going to come up with.
All right, on to my number one. I'm going to have to go with Hans Zimmer.
Yes.
Inception, Gladiator. I mean, these are epic, just suspenseful, just grinded into you. The Rock, Batman Begins, of course, The Dark Knight, Crimson Tide, if you remember that one. That was a great one. His resume is long, just like the others. And when it comes to suspense, nobody does it better.
Yeah, I have to agree with you on that. Hans Zimmer he creates such wonderful soundtracks. I didn't pick him as my number one because I knew you were going to pick him.
Yeah, go ahead.
I went with Danny Elfman.
Excellent choice.
He does not get enough credit, and he does such great soundtracks. Everything from Mission Impossible to A Simple Plan, Good Will Hunting, Sleepy Hollow. He even did Hellboy. He's done such amazing work. He even hit the Terminator series. And lately, I mean, he's still composing. He's recently did The Avengers and Goosebumps, even 50 Shades of Grey. I mean, he is in everything. He does not back down from any challenges. He just hits every mark.
His style is so different from everybody else's that you just know instantly that this is a Danny Elfman. I mean, think of the opening to the Men in Black movies.
Yes.
You just, as soon as you hear those opening notes, Danny Elfman.
Yeah, definitely looking forward to see what he's going to be producing in the years to come.
Yeah, and if you want to see him in a very early movie role, check out Back to School. Rodney Dangerfield, he is the lead singer of Oingo Boingo in the dormitory scene. It's
you did tell me about
priceless.
that.
Yeah.
That is so hilarious. I'm going to have to go back and look at that because I have seen that movie. I just didn't notice that he was in it.
Yeah, he was the front man for Oingo Boingo.
So that's going to wrap up this episode for us today. Don't forget, the Oscars are coming.
Oscars are coming.
We will be discussing the Oscars very soon, not to mention, if you are an Oscars fan, if you love to watch the Oscars, definitely come into the library and join us because we will be showing the Oscars here.
Yep.
Joe and I will be on hand to do trivia, to do games in between commercials, to, see who's going to win. I don't know.
Yeah, I've picked mine and you've picked yours, and
yes.
we have some very different picks.
Definitely.
We'll see who
comes out on top.
Yeah, because you can't say who's the winner anymore.
Yeah. True. Well, this was such a fun episode just to kind of talk about music and talk about all the great composers that are out there. There's always something new to learn, and we love movies. We're going to continue to talk about them. So join us next time. As always, I'm Adriana.
And I'm Joe.
And this was Popcorn Diaries.
Lights, camera, action.